Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Binary Briefings. Now, how would the world change without the internet? A better question is, how would your world change without the internet? For some of us, it would be a harsh reality to deal with because a lot of our lives are so intertwined with the internet that without it, a piece of us goes away. A lot of people rely on the internet in communication to make a living, whether that's social media, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's communications via internet to for logistic purposes as truckers or other people are delivering goods and services. I mean, the internet is no longer just a invisible thing that we can occasionally use to better our lives or to communicate with, grandma that lives thousands of miles away, or mom, instead of, going to visit, we go ahead and use the internet to connect with mom. It's no longer built like that. The internet is an infrastructure in and of itself. But what's crazy though is how sometimes if the internet is removed out of a situation, we get better as humans. We have to be forced to use our creativity again. We get forced to get a little bit more physical as we are out touching grass and doing things and creating and building with our hands. For example, I am a director of leadership for a pretty large charter school type of chain in the valley. And there were 2 days when the internet was down, right? And so as I'm visiting these campuses and I'm looking at how teachers are operating and things like that, the first day the internet was down, in the beginning of that day, it was like chaos. Teachers didn't know what to do. Students couldn't really use their iPad to pretend like they were working and playing their games on their iPad while pretending to work and looking at the teacher as if they're typing or writing. But what they're really doing is they're clicking this gigantic planet and seeing how many times they could click that planet in the course of a day. I don't know. I guess that's a game. It's the tap game. I guess that game is addicting. I don't know. I don't get it. All I know is my son was doing it for some time too. So I mean that tap game. But anyways, so the first like half a day, it was chaos. But then after a while, what I started to notice was a lot more talking to one another, a lot more interaction because it's like it's forced. You have to have a lot more face to face interactions. Teachers had to be more engaged with their students and they could not rely on the internet or technology to kind of carry them through. Now, the second day, I'm not going to lie, the second day without the internet was one of the best times that I've seen. And I've been in this position all year. So it's one of the best times that I've seen like teachers actually teach, students really being engaged, projects being brought up that they want to do. Just so many things that was just so cool because there wasn't the internet. Now, I'm saying all that to say this. Life for them for those 2 days got better when the internet was removed. They got more wise. It seems like not only the teachers, but the students, not only the students, but the teachers, their minds got more sharp. They were more creative. They were more dangerous to the educational system. They were more dangerous. The learning was skyrocketing, and that was only 2 days without the internet. So yes, they had to go through that withdrawal, weaning themselves off the internet. Like I mean, that forced detox of the internet. Yes, they had to go through that. They was in cold sweats, shaking and stuff. They had to go through that. But after that, they started thriving. But after those 2 days and the internet came back, they went back to that zombie like state. And it was crazy that I was able to witness that. Now, one of the reasons why I'm bringing that up is because you guys know that I do love me some New York Times, and I love the articles in the New York Times. If you have not subscribed or got your subscription to the New York Times, what are you waiting for? Please go ahead and do that. In Iran, though, in Iran, there are mass layoffs happening as companies are starting to buckle under the wartime pressure. So, mass layoffs. Uh, uh, but one thing that I want to focus on is in Iran, believe it or not, they are cutting back internet usage. And for some places, they are shutting down the internet. So let's go ahead and look at the article in question. Let's go ahead and look at that. Let me share my screen. Please get your subscription to the New York Times. There it is right there. Boom. Let me go ahead and look at it with my, there we go. Boom. Okay, so now we're looking at this article. Remember, I don't read the entire article. And because we are reading about Iran and stuff like that, y'all know I'm going to be butchering some names. I don't read the entire article. Hopefully, you will get intrigued and you will go purchase your own subscription or go to your local library and read this ish for free. I'm not going to get too deep into this article because I only want to pinpoint the internet portions of it. But let's go ahead and read. Mass layoffs in Iran as businesses buckle under wartime pressures. Iran was already struggling economically before 2026 brought widespread instability. A government imposed internet shutdown has crippled an entire sector. That right there is what kills me. A government imposed internet shutdown has crippled an entire sector. This was not the United States. Now, due to the wartime things that they are in, yes, this is starting to happen. But it's not the United States shutting down their internet. It's not Israel shutting down their internet. It's a government imposed internet shutdown. Let's read some more. And shout out to Lele for the article. I appreciate you. Nick Unzar. Layli Nikunazar. Thank you for the article. In mid-March, Babak, a 49-year-old Iranian product designer at a tech company in Tehran, was called into his boss's office and told that his position was being eliminated. Iran's government has shut down the internet 2 weeks earlier. Did y'all see that? Did y'all read that? Did y'all hear that? Iran's government had shut down the internet 2 weeks earlier. That's crazy. At the outset of U.S.-Israeli war on the country, throwing the country's tech industry into chaos and making Babak's job impossible. Throughout my career, I have worked hard, continuously learned, and tried to grow, said Babak, who sent a voice message to the New York Times and asked to be identified only by his first name to avoid government reprisal. Yet at my stage of life, I find myself in an uncertain and ambiguous position, he said. Babak's experience had become increasingly common throughout Iran as companies have instituted round after round of layoffs in recent weeks, according to interviews with businesses and employees of Iranian news reports. Dang, man. So not only is the internet being affected in Iran, all their businesses are being affected. But what I want to do is highlight and focus on the internet portion of it. But before we get to that, let's read how the Trump administration is responding to all this. I don't know why, but just reading about like Trump's responses and stuff like that, I don't know why it just bothers me. I don't know if it bothers you guys because he's very cocky and it feels like, you know, we're winning the war, we're winning. I don't know. Are we really though? Are we really? Because what I've started to learn, and I've said this before, when Trump or the administration tells us one thing, we have to strongly consider the opposite. So this scares me. Listen, for the Trump administration, Iran's severe economic struggles are part of a strategy to pressure the country into submission. I hope it fails, President Trump told reporters this month of Iran's economy. You know why? Because I want to win. Ugh, bothers me. Iranian officials insist that pressures will not work and that the country will not surrender. Keep that in your psyche. Don't forget the story of the schools that I told you that I visited and what happened when the internet was removed. Iranian officials insist that pressure will not work and that the country will not surrender. We are going to revisit that article in a second. Okay, we are going to revisit that article in a second. But what I want to do is I want to talk about, seriously, let's talk about what happens when the internet is gone. What happens when the internet is gone? What happens when the thing that's kind of holding modern civilization suddenly disappears? Iran snatched the internet. No internet. Not just internet, no banking systems, no social media. Iran snatched the internet. No GPS, no clouds systems. I got a lot stored in. I need to upgrade my cloud, man, because it seems like every video I do, hey, you have insufficient. You gotta erase some shit. You gotta erase some shit. Damn, man. Damn. No communication. Just imagine your world, their world, our world with no internet. It's just silence. It's silence. The scary part about all of this is most people, we don't even realize how close the internet is tied to literally everything that we got going on. I'm telling you, it's not about just losing YouTube and binary briefings. It's not about, oh no, we can't doom scroll TikTok. It's not about Instagram, seeing the latest influencer who's not really living their best life try to convince us that they are and how we need to be like them. It's not about social media primarily. It's about our money, our commerce, our food delivery, our hospitals, our transportation, emergency systems. Just our nation's stability. Don't forget, Iran's government snatched their internet. So what happens if our world just suddenly went offline? You see, the internet isn't a tool anymore. People, what we do is we still talk about the internet like it's some kind of option. Like, I use the internet for entertainment. Oh man, I brag about this. I have so many gigs, man. My internet is so fast, man, even though my internet be screwing up all the time. It's not a luxury. You see, entertainment, a luxury, gaming, this or that. That is such outdated thinking. You see, the internet has quietly crept into every crevice of our lives and has become an infrastructure just like electricity, just like our highways, just like the water systems that we rely on, just like all of the banking networks, you know, the digital ones and zeros and twos and all the monies and threes, the millions of dollars you got in your bank account. So maybe the hundreds of dollars you got, but all that's just digital. With the crash of the internet, your money goes bye-bye. We ain't got no hard cash. Some of us still stash cash in the mattress. So what happens without it? What happens without the internet? You see, without the internet, modern economies begin choking almost immediately, and we are in trouble because the commerce, it collapses so fast. Think about how many times money moves digitally every single day. I'm telling you, it just pops up in your account. Yes, you work hard, you do this, you do that, you have direct deposit, it just pops up in your account. Think about it. It just moves every time we swipe our cards, every time we order some food, and now painfully every time we go get gas. Shoot, I have to continuously transfer money from account to account every time I transfer money, every time we pay our bills, every time we crazy and we go to Amazon and we shop online. The money is moving digitally. We are relying on the internet connected systems. So what happens if the internet just vanishes overnight? Iran shut down the internet. Millions of transactions would fail instantly. Banks could freeze. ATMs could stop working. Digital payment systems just collapses. And suddenly, and here's the kicker, and this shit right here is scary. People would no longer be able to access their money. Oh, could you imagine not being able to wake up? Woke up this morning, I stretched, I yawned, I complained in my mind about my morning breath, and I checked Wells Fargo. That was my morning. Now imagine if I couldn't do that shit. Lord, Lord, imagine the panic across the nation. Iran's government shut down the internet. Think about what's happening over there right now. The supply chain nightmare. That's just deeper. We're just getting deeper and deeper with this panic if the internet goes bye-bye. These are things we really have to start considering because it can be true, because it's true in Iran. This is something that I talked about in the video when StreamYard was being silly to me. Most people think that grocery stores are just stocked manually, but they're not. Modern supply chains rely on real-time inventory systems, you guys. GPS tracking, warehouse automation, like all these things require and need the internet. Food, that can of beans is not just placed on the shelf. Things have to be shipped. What about the shipping logistics? All the digital coordinations. Companies just don't show up to our grocery store and start stocking, or just loading, dropping off pallets, and then the grocery people start stocking. That's not how that stuff works. How do we do all that without the internet? Our world has changed. Come on, stores would stop receiving accurate inventory updates. Warehouses, they lose their communication. Truck routes, they fail now. Deliveries really slow down. And that's something we're not going to talk about it today, but that's another thing that's crippling Iran's economy is they're just not getting goods fast. And not necessarily, not even just fast, not like fast, and it's slow. Within days of the internet being shut down, we could start seeing shortages of food, medicine, fuel. Just think about that. Now, if you live in America or any other country that's, not going through an internet shutdown, we don't have to worry about that just yet. But in Iran, their government shut down the internet. I'm just going to keep reiterating that so that you guys can feel the weight of what we are discussing right now. So all of those things that we could feel shortages of, food, medicine, fuel, we're not having a shortage because the resources dried up. We are having the shortage. I can't say shortage. We are having the shortage because coordination disappeared. That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, imagine not having the internet and now you are receiving information. Very hard for fact checks. Now we are going back to what, the 1980s, 70s, 60s, where we are fed information. That's the psychological side of things now, right? No social media, no instant communication, no online news. And all of the information we are now receiving is an information vacuum. And we know what happens in an information vacuum. The fear mongering starts to happen. Fear starts to grow fast. Rumors spread faster than facts now. Now people, they begin guessing and speculating and panicking. Because one thing that we hate as human beings is uncertainty, especially when nobody really even knows what's really happening around us. Don't forget, the Iran government shut down their internet. If it happened to them, don't think that there is a time where it cannot or will not happen to us. What about the economic shockwave? The businesses. Think about businesses. Millions of companies today operate almost entirely online. Like I said, my cloud system, I need to upgrade my cloud. I'm not going to do it. I just can't imagine paying $20 a month for more storage. What about how many people work remotely? All these customer databases that rely on the internet, shipping software, scheduling systems. Just imagine all of that gone. Small businesses would probably get hit the hardest, right? Because unlike these giant corporations, many of those small businesses don't have backup infrastructure. They solely depend on the internet. So no internet for them could literally mean no cells, no communication, no operation. And once businesses stop operating, jobs disappear, and they disappear fast. That's what Doc, I think that's how you say his name. That's what he's experiencing and has been experiencing in Iran as he lost his job. What about hospitals and emergencies, chaos? This is where things get really dangerous. You see, hospitals rely heavily on the internet. Hospitals rely heavily on internet connected systems like all of the patient records, prescription verifications, emergency coordinations, lab communications. Now imagine emergency systems slowing down during a national outage. That's not inconvenience anymore. That's a vulnerability. If you really, really think about it, here is a swift reminder. Iran shut down the internet. So, what's the bigger question before we get back into the article and then we go ahead and call this a video? And this could be the scariest part of it all. We are now realizing how dependent modern civilization has become on systems that most of us barely even think about. The internet is invisible, which means most of us usually only notice it when it stops working. Have we built a world that's too connected to survive disconnection? Goodness, Lord, help us. This is what I want to do. I want to go back to the article. And this is how we're going to end this. Let's go ahead and go back to the article. Let's go back to the New York Times. All right. And so here we are going back to the article. And don't forget, I highlighted this. Iranian officials insist that pressure will not work and that the country will not surrender. Let's scroll down and look, there is so much you can read. There is so much you can read. What images, what powerful images they captured as well. So much you can read about what's happening in Iran as their economy is just collapsing. Okay. All right. Listen closely. In a statement to mark a national day in Iran that honors workers and teachers, the supreme leader Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei urged companies to avoid layoffs to the extent possible. Many of those companies are facing deep crises that are the direct results of actions by Mr. Khamenei's government. For instance, Iran's digital sector, once a symbol of the country's potential, has been brought to its knees by a severe government imposed internet shutdown. They did it to themselves. The head of an Iranian tech company lobbied group estimated that the internet shutdown is costing Iran up to $80 million a day in direct and indirect losses. Digicala, known as the Amazon of Iran and the country's leading tech company, has cut 200 employees, about 3% of its workforce, with the recent instability among the causes, said the company's chief executive, Musad Tabatabi. Musad Tabatabi. There's that digital tech company right there. And last month, the founder of Canva, an Iranian e-commerce company, announced the firm would be closing entirely. After 2 wars and months of internet shutdown, we could no longer bypass the crises, the founder, Hadi Farnad, said in a statement on his X account. This time, it was impossible to continue. The government said, the Iran government said, they will not surrender. They will not cave. They will not give in. I believe them. Stripping the internet away is definitely going to have an initial blast to everybody in Iran. But after a little while, the creativity is going to start growing. The instincts of survival is going to start kicking in. Their military may start growing. We just might be in trouble. They are streamlining their focus. Their focus is not only to withstand the attacks, but to go on the offense as well. Now, I don't know if that's a good strategy. I don't know if they cray, but all I know is they are doing things very orthodox, you know what I mean? Very, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't even know the word. Unconventional. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but they are doing things outside of the box. I will say this, though. At the end of the day, America and Israel just have too much firepower. I don't think Iran can win this. But on the next briefing, we just might cover the growing frustrations of China. Do not be asleep. Wake up. Well, that is going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for catching Binary Briefing. Hopefully you enjoyed this show. And until next time,